me trouble today. I actually had trouble deciding what I wanted to wear.
Muted. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Gamestack Podcast right here on We Just Love Games Network. I am your co-host, Vendertron. Joining me this evening, as always, is Shalene. Hello, Shalene.
Hi. Hello.
And we have two very special guests joining us this evening as well. Dave Chaffins. Hello, Dave.
Greetings and salutations, everyone.
As
It's very
well
formal here.
as Jessica Starr, aka Sleep is for Tea. Hello, Jess. Welcome back.
Great, Fender. Hey, everybody. Happy Stackies Day.
It is the Stackies, informally Stackies, the 8th annual Stack Awards. 8th, Shalene.
Can you even believe that? That blows my mind. You asked me earlier today, hey, is it the 4th or the 5th annual Stack Awards? I was like, I don't know. Let me check. No, it's the 8th Stack Awards. How have we done 8 of these?
We're going to be in our 50s, and I'm going to be like, Shalene, what is it, the 8th or the 9th Stack Awards? And you're going to be like, it's the 19th Stack Awards. I can't make it because I got a catheter in.
Hang on,
Wait,
I
we
need to
get
Google.
catheterized at 50? Oh, no.
I'm sorry, but it's going to take more than a catheter to keep me away from this podcast.
That's true.
Just saying.
Speaking of illnesses, I apologize to everyone in advance. I have a terrible chest and head cold. So Shalene is going to be taking the reins for the remainder of the show and guiding us through the evening.
Guiding us directly off the rails.
The mic
rails.
is yours,
Yeah.
Captain.
Excellent. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. And we usually do like this whole news and chat about our gameplay and stuff. But tonight we're just gonna do the award show. We've been, those of you, the longtime listeners, have been here 8 times. We're going to do this the same way we always do. Each host is going to bring a nomination for the category, and then we will decide the winner on the air. We'll just talk out which game wins. So do you guys want to just jump into it? Are you ready?
So
ready?
can you give a little bit of history to the Stackies, Shalene, so that anybody coming into the show knows what they're getting into?
Okay, so basically the Game Awards are bullshit. And the world needed something better. So we created the Stackies. And also part of the motivation behind creating the Stackies was that it made me really, really angry that the Game Awards happens in like October, November, whenever they have it. There are multiple months of the year left when games are still coming out, and it is not fair to have a Game of the Year awarded before all the games have released.
Truth.
So we have our Game of the Year show January of the following year so that we can be sure and get all the games in there. You know, we have a chance to play them all. We probably won't, but we have a chance to play them all. And I don't know what else you're looking for in terms of history of the Stackies, because that's pretty much it.
Don't know what to do with my hands.
Mm-hmm. Vendor's dying in the corner. I'm so sorry.
Old man Vinder's over here
I'm
coughing
fine.
up a storm.
I'm fine. I'm
Poor
fine.
man's got tuberculosis.
Guys, the
like
cough
he's in
is
Red Dead
really
Redemption.
bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, I imagine that this is what it was like for what's his name in Red Dead?
Oh, Arthur Morgan?
Arthur Morgan. Yeah.
Yeah, except, less cameras and microphone with mute buttons.
Saddest video game ending ever. I cried.
Hmm.
I cried.
Yeah.
Rip Arthur Morgan.
I think Red Dead was probably our game of the year nominee that year. That was
It was the game of the year for like 3 years.
yeah.
But
Gracious. We've been doing this so long. I can't believe it. But you guys know what to expect. I feel like I don't have to explain it. It's very standard. We have categories for different aspects of games, and then finally a game of the year. And let's jump into it, shall we?
mhm.
All right. We're going to start out with best narrative. Jess, what is your nominee for best narrative?
I have noticed that you put me first on all of these on the list. Am
You
I going to be
don't
first?
always have to go first. I copy pasted this in the notes. So,
Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Because some categories I'm very prepared. Others, not so much. And we're going in order. So, best narrative. This was a tough one. I know we're trying to mostly do games that came out in 2024, right? We're still talking about the Stackies a little
do
bit.
try to stick with games that came out this year, but sometimes we can be a little bit more flexible because we know how games end up on the stack, and some years are more gameplay filled than other years. For me, there were not so many games played this year. I will absolutely be nominating games that I haven't played and games that maybe didn't come out this year. So
Thing is, the stack has really been growing the last couple. I know last year we had some bleed over, and this year I'd say it was probably 50-50 on 2023 and earlier games or 24. So, but my best narrative game, my first nomination is one of the last games to come out in 2024, Indiana Jones
Ooh.
at the Great Circle.
all right, nice. Tell us why. Tell us about the story from Indiana Jones without spoilers, of course, but why is Indiana Jones a standout in terms of narrative?
Well, so I have to, full disclosure, I have not completed the game. I am still in the Vatican. A person can start playing and get to that second region and stay there for a good 10 hours or so. So I'm about 10 to 12 hours in. But so far, the writing has been excellent. What I love about it is the way the game took the inspiration from the movies and brought that story forward. It really fits in seamlessly. We are playing an Indiana Jones movie, or maybe they were like dramatizing Indiana Jones games that just haven't happened yet. It is so similar. The feel is so real. The writing is wonderful. The characters flow. Sorry, not Harrison Ford. Excuse me. Indiana Jones is as taciturn as ever, whoever's playing him. But yeah, it's been really good. Your characters have motivations all the way through. It's rooted in real world events. I mean, obviously, we're going back to the 30s here. The game takes place, I believe it's 35. It's in between two of them, 34. Yeah, it would be about 1935. And dealing with, the fascists in Mussolini's Italy. And, it's been just really entertaining, and it's a very real narrative from what I've experienced so far. And from what I've seen and heard from other people's on stream and talking about it, it just gets better. So that's my nominee.
Brilliant. Dave, what's your nominee?
Yeah, so I nominated. It was a close call between Indiana Jones and my nominee, which was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That game, it hasn't been since probably Dragon Age Inquisition that I have connected so much with like a troop. I think that the party that you build in the first game and then in this game where it's like everybody's kind of going through their own arcs, like coming to terms with who they are as people and what they can do for this universe as they go through it, I think is really compelling. Like that's what gets me going back to narrative in games are characters that you can like legitimately like go with and care about. It's interesting because I thought about that because I'm playing Dragon Age Veilguard, and I'm like that has a similar party, but I don't know, like the way that Rebirth has handled these characters, they already have some sort of like cultural establishment because it's a remake, but like fleshing out those characters where you feel more of Barrett's story or Tifa's story, Aerith's, like the party itself shines in that game, and I think that's what makes a story for me, is having a good party.
Fantastic. And Vendor, what's your nominee?
My nomination is Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth.
Oh,
And the reason I chose this is because it's always been a game it's always a franchise that's been in the back of my mind. And it really stood out this year in terms of what it's been able to do in terms of the dual protagonists and the character-driven storytelling. So the main character's story arc is particularly powerful because it talks a lot about and brings the player to terms with things like mortality and creating a legacy for yourself, and I think it brings a lot of weight to the story, which actually explores different themes around personal identity and redemption. And I think for me personally, I've started playing it, Shalene, by the way.
Nice.
But for me personally, these are a lot of the experiences that I'm going through in my own life right now. So it's very timely. So maybe I'm a little bit biased, but there are some moments already that are like gut-wrenching moments. But then there's also these completely ridiculous side quests, managing a nudist resort. Or like
You got to ride on the back of a dolphin to get to the
like,
Animal
it's
Crossing
just-
island that has the nudist resort on it.
and then there's
Wait,
layers.
it's an Animal Crossing island?
Yes. There's a whole Animal Crossing game where you like place furniture, you get guests to come to your
It's
island.
ridiculous.
You can visit. It's legitimately just
Yeah.
Animal Crossing, the latest one. They put it in Yakuza.
Yeah.
That is
I'm not kidding you.
delightful.
Yeah.
That is absolutely delightful. Except like your little goat friend is nude. So
Yeah. So to me, I mean, for evolving the Yakuza sort of franchise, I think it feels like they're sort of passing the generational torch on to this next edition. Not just narratively, but also thematically as well. I think they check all the boxes. What about you,
Great.
Shalene? What's your nomination?
my nominee is Dragon Age: The Veilguard, which I have not finished, but it is definitely the most compelling story that I have played this year. And I do intend to finish it and to spend more time, but just reconnecting with some of the old characters and meeting some of the new characters and seeing the way that they've developed this story that's it's got roots all the way back to Dragon Age Origins that are still unfolding. So that's my choice.
I really think that like my favorite character for video games this year, if there was a favorite character category, it would probably be Imric from Dragon Age Veilguard. He's the like graveyard priest, and like he gives these soliloquies about like death and what he thinks about death and how like people pass on and like caring for the memory of people and why it's important to like have a funeral, and like it's like very much like this like sage. It's not like woo woo like oh blah blah blah. It's like very much grounded in reality and like how people feel about death. It's like legitimately one of my favorite characters, I think, from this year.
Brilliant.
he's so proper. Yes.
So does that mean you're throwing your vote over to Dragon Age Veilguard?
No, no.
All
He
right.
reminds me
who's-
of like Alan Cumming, I would say. Like he has that kind of like posh
Mhm.
vibe.
I feel like I would be willing to throw my vote over to Indiana Jones because Jess really sold that pretty well.
2.
And okay, so
I-
that is
I will
I do
say
as well.
both two of you had my number twos on there. You know how you would do the subgenre? Like I would bend the knee to both Dragon Age Veilguard and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. So, if we're all gonna bend the knee together, please come my way. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
None of all of these games I'm playing, none of them I have finished this year. All of them I'm still actively playing.
That's why it's called Gamestack. Right. Yeah. There's just
well,
stacks everywhere.
congratulations to Indiana Jones and the Great Circle for winning Best Narrative. I'm sure Todd Howard is just dying right now with the great honor that he's been bestowed.
You should be.
Our next category is best art. Dave, why don't you start us off with your nominee?
Best art would be Metaphor Refantasio. I typically like the Persona series. That's like a brand of JRPG that I can get behind, and they really went to the next level, I think, in going back and pulling out a lot of like all of the like monsters and stuff from like mythology, and even like cryptids. Like Mothman's in this game, and they pull all of these different things and moving it into this kind of like high fantasy setting really upped their art game and gave like unique characters, so it wasn't just like, oh, here's the city block that you're like going around and around. Like it's a kingdom and it's a place. The menus look amazing. Like all of the different characters and the like specific art to all of these people look amazing. It feels like I forgot the exact name of the painter, but it feels like this like kind of like Renaissance painting a lot of the time. That's very like a cast up upon itself. So that's my nominee for art.
That's great. I'm hearing so many good things about that game.
Another game that I am like 20 hours into that I like, that's a 100-hour commitment. I've made the commitment. We're getting there. It's just, getting to the marriage ceremony once you've gotten engaged took me a year and a half. So I'm not pushing a video game that, as we go along.
My nominee is Cat and Ghostly Road, which is a point and click adventure game. It's a bit of an indie situation. It had hand-drawn art and it was so lovely. The different settings in this game were an absolute joy, and the character designs, both in normal mode and ghost mode, were just really, really nice. Well done. The art had the ability to evoke peace when I was feeling stressed, and all by itself, whether or not the game was even good, which it was only okay, but
But it was a short
the
game, right?
art was a joy. It was a very short game. I do recommend it. It was a joy. The art was a joy. So what's your nominee, Vendor?
I was just trying to pull up some
Oh, I'm
B-roll
sorry.
on-
What's your nominee, Jess?
Okay. So my nominee, it's funny, we're all splitting on this, on the nominees, which is, good. It's been a very diverse year. In most categories, they're games I've played and even finished. But in some categories, they're games I've just dabbled with. Indiana Jones is kind of like that. This one as well. My vote is going for The Axis Unseen. The Axis Unseen is Nate Perkypile's indie game. It's an open world survival heavy metal game, a little bit horror, but more just creative. And I have to just, shout out, because Nate Perkypile, I've loved his art for years, and, the design that he's done in all the Bethesda games he played by him. But
Apologies.
having the freedom of his own, like being able to create his own game, his own vision, like for the first time that he's actually had complete and total control, on a large published game. And it's just amazing. The set pieces, like huge, like bones and ridges, and it's just an amazing forest. And the second reason is because the art in the bestiary and a lot of the flavor art in menus, bestiary and such, were done by Overshia, another friend. So I'm a little bit biased here, but Overshia's bestiary drawings really pushed it over the edge for me. So yeah, just gonna go with Axis Unseen.
This is a really great choice. I really enjoyed following Nate's social media accounts during development of this game. It's very interesting to look at, for sure. It's something I'd like to check out. Bender, what's your nominee?
My nomination is Harold Halibut. And I chose
Halibut. Yeah.
Harold Halibut came out this year, and it was one of the games that caught me by surprise. If you're unfamiliar with it, it is based. It's a really unique game because its handcrafted visual style is what sets itself apart from other games. So the creators used stop motion aesthetics rather than what most video games rely on, digital assets. So they used real physical models and sets.
So this is an actual claymation situation?
Yes.
Oh my
Um,
goodness, I didn't realize that.
So the
Yeah.
technique gives the game sort of that tactile and intimate feel, making it look like a playable animated film. Um, so to be able to do that, but then also capture the incredible attention to detail that they have, and then seamlessly blend those practical and digital techniques together into this universe, just made this uncanny, beautiful mix of realism and whimsy that was, to me, felt like something that was just so organic. And the the handmade approach that they took in creating this sort of diorama style of a world really stood out for me in terms of art direction and digital rendering. So I think in terms of why this deserves my nomination is really just the sheer amount of effort and passion and innovation that goes into creating something as complex as this. Like, we see a lot of the work of Tim Burton and the amount of time and effort that goes in to make a movie. Now take that and make a video game. I can't even imagine how complex that is. So, anyways, that's my choice.
Absolutely tremendous. Does anybody want to throw their vote?
I'm
I'd
throwing
like
my
to.
vote to Harold Halibut. I officially, I second that nomination under Robert's Rules of Order.
So, full disclosure, about a month ago, vendor messaged me, "Have you tried Harold Halibut yet? This game is really neat. It looks really cool."
Yeah.
So I also downloaded and installed it. Just got a little ways in, but the art is exquisite, as you say. When it comes to the actual animations, it was all made in claymation and modeled in clay, and then over time they digitized animations. So repeated animations could then be programmed with the fully digitized character. But every character imported was originally made in clay, fully modeled, and then from there sometimes they did a mix. But it's absolutely gorgeous, and I've been talking about it too, as someone in chat just mentioned. So yeah,
Wonderful.
I'm also throwing my vote behind vendor.
Yes.
Learning that this is actually hand modeled figures makes me feel very comfortable, and also throwing my vote to Harold Halibut. So congratulations, Harold Halibut. You've won the Stack Award for Best Art.
I love it. Slow Bros is the name of the studio, which I love because it's so fitting with their work. But you can expect your tiny little stacky in the imaginary mail shortly.
We're only
There's
8 years behind on sending those out.
Yes, we have a stack of stackies to stand.
Can you make theirs out of clay? That would be so perfect.
That would be so good. Oh my goodness.
I seriously think we should actually be sending these out randomly.
I think so too.
It
I
would
think
be
it would
such
be
good
delightful.
podcast advertising.
Yes.
You could send them a sticker in the mail. Like that
Yeah.
would be the stuff.
I do have a whole bunch of those stickers still.
I have a
could
whole
send
stack
out,
of the postcards behind
I
me.
could send out some of the stickers.
Mhm.
Our next category is best soundtrack, and I will kick this one off. My nominee for the best soundtrack for 2024 is Echoes of Wisdom, The Legend of
Ooh.
Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Legend of Zelda games never miss in terms of soundtrack, in my opinion. And even though I have not even taken the shrink wrap off of this game yet, I have listened to the soundtrack because I love video game soundtracks, and it's just a delight. It's a delight. So, Echoes of Wisdom. Thunder, what's yours?
Let me go to my list. Final Fantasy, the new Final Fantasy. That would be my
Which one
choice.
is that? 15? Final Fantasy
17.
Final
Seven
Fantasy Roman
Rebirth.
numbers.
7 Rebirth. Thank you. That would be my choice. And every year when I try to choose a soundtrack, I actually listen to the soundtracks,
Right.
of course, because that's the easiest category to do because you don't actually have to play the game.
You can listen to the soundtrack while you're at work.
So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth gets my vote, and I chose this because of the complexity of the compilations of the music that's created in the world, and it just fits so rightly. So, and my runner-up for this would have been Astrobot. It was a hard, and I mention it because it was like neck and neck in terms of choosing.
So the Astrobot soundtrack was that good?
Oh,
Yeah. It was really,
Nice.
really diverse. They have over 4 hours of compilations of music that was produced for that game, which is
Very
a lot.
nice.
That's a lot. Anyways, that's my choice.
Jess, what's your nominee?
okay. So, unlike Vendor, I found this one really, really difficult because, yeah, you can listen if you don't play, but a lot of times the music in a game speaks to you most when
you have
you've
to
got
be
that.
there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that emotional connection of you fought through this music, you climbed this mountain or this cliff, you know what I mean? You struggled through the sewers against a multitude of rats to this, baseline.
Plague
So
Tale Innocence.
exactly. And I'm kind of going with a game that I have a little bit of bias towards again. But we are going to go with Fallout London for the soundtrack.
Oh.
Picking Fallout London because it has an all original soundtrack and design. Dansky, as the primary sound designer and composer on it, did some fantastic music. Like the music really gives you that vibe. Like, how do you keep a Fallout feel but differentiate the location from what we know? So we've got those songs. We've got a bunch of original radio music. They had other composers come in and write and record original radio songs that has a whole Fallout station. Then Kay Downs was the second primary composer on it. Did some really wonderful ambient tracks in there too. So yeah, all together for soundtrack, I'm gonna go with Fallout London because it reminds me of those really just great gaming moments this year.
Excellent
It was a hard
choice.
category. I'm just gonna quickly shout out my second choice. The one of you might be, yeah, I've already picked it, but Balatro. Balatro's music, that song puts you in a trance. It is so perfect and just keeps you one more turning into the wee hours of the morning.
Thank you so much, Jess. Dave, what is your nominee for best soundtrack?
My nominee for best soundtrack is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I bumped that shit in the morning. I bumped that shit at night. I bumped that shit like all day long. Go and listen. Go back. It's a job for you to do. Go back and listen to the theme for it's called Cosmo Canyon. Listen to that from the original Final Fantasy VII, and then go back and listen to the new version of it. That stuff bumps. Get yourself together. Excellent. The themed locations, all of the music behind all the locations fits it perfectly. The character themes in this are like historically some of the best. They would play this music at the Olympics. Like it is so good. My favorite wrestler of all time has a finisher called One Winged Angel, and he likes to come out to the song One Winged Angel where they're just screaming Sephiroth the whole time. One of the best video game soundtracks I don't think that the next installment that they do of 7 is going to be as good because they just had so many of the bangers in this one, but I have to give it to the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Brilliant. And that clinches our winner with 2 votes. We have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for best soundtrack.
Well deserved. Final Fantasy continuing their streak of winning years and years in a row, if not here, elsewhere, because I think every Final Fantasy game gets nominated. That music is so good.
They do have incredible music. They really do. Our next category is best audio. And this is one of the most important categories, in my opinion, every year, because audio is make or break for me in video games. That's what really, really decides whether or not I am immersed in a game or not.
Mm-hmm.
The sounds of footfalls and the sounds of a door opening, the sounds, that's it's so important to me. And Vendor, what is your nominee?
Oh, you're just throwing me out there first, hey?
I am.
My nomination is Senua's Sacrifice Hellblade 2. Senua Hellblade 2, sorry. And I think for obvious reasons, you all know why I'm choosing this game, but to lay it out on the table very plainly, this is a game that uses 3D like binaural audio recording. And what that does is that it creates intense like directional audio soundscapes. And Senua's world is really built on um, her psychosis.
Mhm.
And so this technique mimics her psychosis in a way that helps players experience the struggles that she's going through on a deeply personal level. So it's incredibly immersive. The audio is very meticulously crafted for this second edition of the Senua franchise. And the voice acting, in addition to that, is just really, really good. I
Mhm.
think this time around, she was both haunting and emotionally gripping. And there's obviously some pretty good combat audio as well. Um, and yeah, so I think the hyper immersive nature of Senua's saga Hellblade 2 is really a good benchmark for optimal sound
Mhm.
design in gaming.
Is Ninja Theory the name of this developer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ninja Theory. They continually do incredible, incredible work, and the audio for this franchise is unparalleled, and that's why it's also my nominee, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. And I really don't have much to add besides what Bender's already said. This is a game that is best experienced in headphones, and the audio pulls you right in, pulls you right into the game. It puts you inside Senua's head. It's amazing. Jess, what's your nominee?
So for a lot of the year, my nominee would have been or was Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. However, it has been dethroned this year for Indica. Indica is an indie game, which in some ways is evocative of Senua's Saga. It's almost like the indie version of Hellblade 2, the B-side, as Rick might say, limited pressing. You're playing a nun who has a voice in her head, the voice of Satan. And she's kind of going through this experience, how she experiences the world. She is in a Russian monastery and has to go out into the world, but she's deals with a lot of prejudice from the other nuns, but the landscape is very abstract. It's got some Lynchian qualities, that is really neat. You do meet characters on the way, but a lot of it is, you talk a little, but a lot of it is just the sound you hear, the audio design. The music has an interesting 8-bit quality, and you get weird echoes and weird voices, sometimes distorted. And then you get times when, the voices take over. And so you've got the voice coming from the depths, and then you pray to work against it, and hearing those sounds working against each other. It has some similarities to Senua's Psychosis and the way they dramatize that. And it's not quite as three-dimensional, as far as the way that it's around you. But there's just a lot of love and thought, and it really affects the feel of the game while you play. So yeah, Indica would be my choice for audio design.
Excellent
Wow,
choice.
I absolutely need to play this game. That sounds incredible. Dave, what's your nominee for best audio?
Excuse me. Which. Oh, that's the sound of Indiana Jones coming through. That is my nomination for sound. The great thing, like obviously the whip cracks, the torches that you light, these like doors that are closing. Like the one thing I really like is the combat. Like I love a game that is first person perspective, but the focus is not guns. I don't want the focus to be guns. That's never my like. I love Fallout, sure, but like I just don't care for guns. I'm just not a big gun guy. So Indiana Jones, you have a gun, but like literally your weapons are whatever you find in the world. So you pick up a violin and it's like, all right, this violin has 5 uses. I'm gonna whack people with it.
Yeah.
And you get the sound design of what it sounds like to hit a Nazi with a violin. And let me tell
Oh,
you
brilliant.
something. Like
Brilliant.
and it's like all theme stuff. So it's like, oh, you can get some bats and some different stuff. But sometimes you can get like, oh, you're in the Vatican, so all of these like fans for the Vatican that they have. So you have these like Pope fans that you can just like whack a bunch of Mussolini men with. It's so good. It's so satisfying every time. And when you sneak around and you get ready to sucker punch a Nazi in the back of the head, like just the impact, the sound of all of that is excellent. Yes.
I need to play this.
Wonderful.
I need to play this.
With
This is a
bang.
great choice.
Yeah. I wanna know what it sounds like to smack a Nazi with a violin.
Yeah.
Same,
It's worth
same.
it.
Satisfying.
You've
Sounds satisfying.
absolutely sold me on this game.
Do you like save it? Do you save it to like open a tomb later or something? Is it
Like,
like
you can get,
turns
you
out to
can
be
carry stuff
secretly a
around.
key or something?
Well, like you get a weapon that's like you get a priest disguise, and you can get the cane that like the priest cuts. So like you can just be sneak it up beside of somebody and just like hit them with your Pope cane, and then
Yep.
they fall over. It's excellent.
Have to
Amazing.
say, vendor weapons are very disposable in this game. That shovel, Indy's a bit violent sometimes. He will break it in 3 or 4 hits. He'll snap
Okay.
that shovel.
Brilliant. The stack is just growing and growing for me as we go through this show. But congratulations to Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 and Ninja Theory for winning the best audio this year. That brings us to our next category, best acting. And of course, performances are so important in a game. We've already talked about acting several times. Jess, what's your nominee?
My nominee was Troy Baker, not Harrison Ford, playing Indiana Jones in the game Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. It's it's brilliant. He is brilliant. It's so compelling. You talk about the sound design, but at the center of it, the entire time is Indy's performance. The face, the voice. He just acts his heart out, and really, really loved it. The game kind of, in some ways, would succeed or fail in a lot of ways based on how much you could maintain that conceit that this was an Indiana Jones game or movie, and it succeeds at both. So yeah.
Brilliant. That's a great, great choice. Dave, what's your nominee?
I actually agree. Indiana Jones is my nominee as well. It's hard to put into words like what this game is for, like how I'm trying to think like how Baldur's Gate like reopened Dungeons and Dragons for everyone. Like this Indiana Jones game is like, it feels like that they spent the last 2 movies, Crystal Skull and the Krampus of whatever, I forget the name of it. Like that's how much I really not necessarily dislike it, but that's how much I feel about it. This feels like the first like true successor to the original trilogy of Indiana Jones movies, and it's all down to Troy Baker's performance as Indiana Jones, as well as the villain. I think the villain does a perfect job of coming off like this. The villain is of course like this German Nazi like Heinrich Himmler kind of guy that is obsessed with the occult. And he is acting across from like their version of like Mussolini. Like Mussolini is in the game. Like you see him at a certain point, and like he is still the most terrifying presence at the room, and he's smiling the whole time he's doing it. So like the character is just like so like in his own world and doing his own thing. Like the villain is excellent. The Indiana Jones, we could talk about all day how excellent Troy Baker has done, that it doesn't even feel like Troy Baker's doing it. It feels like Harrison Ford is doing it, and it's back in the 1980s. Like
that's what
excellent
people
run.
want, right? That's why they hired him. They were like,
Right.
we want somebody that is going to come as close to the great as possible. And
He's an incredibly talented actor.
Right?
He really is.
Yeah. What about you, Shalene?
Troy Baker is absolutely amazing, and that is why my nomination is Melina Jurgens for Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. She's amazing. She's so amazing. And the year that the original Hellblade was our game of the year here on the Stack Awards, we talked ad nauseum about this woman's performance and how gripping she was and how visceral her performance was. And the same holds true for the second entry. And Fender, what's your nomination?
My nomination is Kaiji Tang, who plays Ichiban Kasuga in the Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth.
Namba-san. Sorry.
Yeah, so I think, Tang just has a really good emotional range and charisma for his performance as Ichiban Kasuga. And I think the character itself is very charismatic, energetic, really has this, like I said, emotional range. So he has this sort of over the top enthusiasm that is paired with this odd vulnerability, but then masked by this humor that makes you love him and see him as so real. And I think his voice work really shines in those emotional moments. And especially when he's dealing with like personal loss and betrayal as he moves through his arc. But the way he delivers heartfelt speeches within the game is just sometimes has this corny nature about it that is always sincere but still corny at the same time. And I love when actors can achieve that, because it's not easy to do. And I think he's one of the most compelling protagonists, I think, in modern RPGs. So
He's Ted Lasso, like to a T. Like
basically,
he's like
Yeah.
Yakuza Ted Lasso.
yeah.
Yakuza Ted Lasso is not a sentence I thought I'd hear today. That is a
You just see
great
him
nomination.
with the big tattoo in
Benda.
his back.
Thank you. And congratulations to Troy Baker as Dr. Jones in Harrison Ford and The Great Circle. Bringing us to our next category, Best Shooter. So Dave, you discussed earlier how guns are not necessarily your thing. So do you want to kick off the category of Best Shooter?
So the best shooter that I played this year was Stalker 2. I really like the Stalker series. I've always been a fan of that. The thing I like about the game is how methodical you have to be. Like everywhere is danger. Like you could get like sucked up in a like tornado that you just like didn't see, or you could get like absorbed by like a gravitational anomaly, and like you are having to do all this combat while avoiding the hazards. And so it's not necessarily it's like doing the gunplay with the hazards of living in this like I don't even know if it's like post-apocalyptic. It's like almost like sci-fi Chernobyl that you're trying to go through. The guns feel good. It all hit like it feels like you're shooting a gun at a person. I don't know if that's a great comparison, but it's not like bullet spongy enemies. It's not like it feels like everything has impact. So that's my pick for shooters, Stalker 2.
Dave, I think that's. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna interject and add that is also my pick and echo everything that Dave said. So
Okay.
yeah, I think it was really good. I did watch.
That's
an
anomaly.
I did watch a lot of gameplay because I have this weird fascination with Chernobyl, as you may already know. So obviously I was very interested in what this game was going to look like. But yeah, the mechanics look really good. It actually reminded me a lot of Fallout in a way. But yeah.
So I am going to go on to say ditto. That is also my nomination.
Or is it Trito?
Trito, yes. But that was horrible. Never say that
It's
again.
evolving.
But I have
dittos,
not.
And I have a holographic Trito I got in my pack recently that I really love.
Oh no.
I haven't played Stalker 2 yet, but I did watch some gameplay after having some discussions with Rick about it. And this is a brilliant game. I think it may not even be the best shooter of this year. It may be the best shooter of the last few.
High praise.
So it looks like a heck of a game.
It's also worth it to wait because it's about as buggy as like when the Pit released for Fallout 3. So just take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
indeed. Jess, what is your nominee?
So I always trust your opinion on shooters, Shalene. It's not my preferred genre. I play some, you know what I mean? I enjoy some, but some years you don't play any, and most of the time they're RPG adjacent shooters. So I didn't play any games in 2024 that would qualify as a shooter for this category. But y'all are a triforce of nature, and we're about to make it a quado. Because, I'm going to put my vote behind Stalker 2 as well. Everyone I've seen play it, really enjoying it. It looks snappy. I will definitely jump in. I mean, I do hear that they, even in the first couple of weeks, they kicked a lot of the bugs. So yeah, when the time comes, I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent.
also like
So
supporting those developers in Ukraine. Like that's just
yes,
a
Yeah.
whole
that's
story of
huge.
like they had their studio and then like a bunch of them went to war and then they had to
Yeah.
move the studio to Poland and it was like a
Yeah.
whole
Hmm.
thing. Like I already liked the series and so just like that story, I'm like, I gotta play this. Gotta do it.
Hmm.
Play it and put money
Absolutely.
towards them because down with fascism. Fascism? Fascism. Okay, congratulations to the creators of Stalker 2.
That bumper gets me every time.
It's so good.
Our next category is the best open world. And I didn't really play a ton of open world games this year. I've discussed it before, you guys. This was not really a huge gaming year for me,
Yeah.
for a lot of different reasons. One of those big reasons was that my PC was a steaming pile of dung for most of the year.
By the way, you're on a new PC right now, are you not?
I am, yeah. I am filming from the new PC. It is working well. I have played multiple video games on it, and life is good. So, looking forward to that. But my choice for best open world, and I feel like I'm going to catch some flack for this, 7 Days to Die.
Oh.
So, 7 Days to Die is a game that Archon's been playing for 10 years now, but the official release was in 2024.
Oh my
So,
god. I was about to be like I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure I
same.
played that like in the
I was like,
PlayStation
yeah.
4, like
yeah,
right when it
technically it's been in beta, all these early access, all these years, but it's released now. So my best open world nomination is 7 Days to Die. It is an open world survival game. It's basically Minecraft with a more post-apocalyptic zombie survival skin, and yeah, it's a good time. It's a pretty good time. Played some last night with Archon and Tim Twig and some of our friends, and it was delightful. So
Nice.
7 Days to Die. Vendor, what's your favorite open world?
My well, I don't know if it's my favorite, but the one
What's
that
your favorite open world for 2024?
it's the one that I'm nominating for 2024, and that is Rise of Ronin.
Oh.
Yeah. So Rise of oh my god, the ads on YouTube are just ridiculous. Rise of Ronin stands out as a top contender for me for 2024 for several reasons. First of all, it is set in an authentic feudal Japan. So it transports you sort of back to this very detailed, historically accurate era in Japan
Oh
during
my
a
gosh, very
period of
historically
intense.
accurate hang glider. That is
Well, no,
amazing.
this is a little bit, but it's the landscape is really really nice. The cities are built really well, um, and I think the attention to the detail makes it really immersive. But the world itself is really dynamic, so the NPCs go about their daily routines and they react dynamically to the world around them, of course. Um, and then the one thing that I found interesting was that there's natural disasters and random events as well as changing seasons in the game. I've
Neat.
seen changing seasons in other games, and it's more like the next time you log in, it's fall.
Mhm.
But this has been a little bit more dynamic. It's basically like Red Dead Redemption, but in Japan. Oddly
This
enough.
really reminds me of the good old days of Assassin's Creed,
Yes.
before
Yeah.
it feels
So
those
it
games
feels like
really
Assassin's
changed.
Creed. Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
Like in just like the vastness of it. I had a really fun time playing that game. Mainly because I decided instead of making historically accurate versions of the characters, I'm a like I really love some corny bullshit, and so like True Blood, I made a Bill from True Blood and the Eric character from True Blood, and so I have these like pale vampire characters. That are the twins that are in this like they're supposed to be like ninja twins that were like from this secret village, but they both look like Bill who talks like Suki. He says, Suki, I am vampire. And so like I am like picturing like this like samurai like HBO original character doing these like sword dances through all of it. And it was one of the most entertaining experiences I had, because whenever the twins would show up and look at each other, just be like, oh, they're a bunch of samurai vampires that are going to shoot each other with guns sometimes. So exciting.
Yeah.
It's my own personal role play that I
Yeah,
did
yeah,
for that one.
yeah.
Fantastic.
Anyways, that's my choice.
Thank you, Bender. Jess, what's your nomination?
So I'm picking a game that I have not played very much of again, because 2024, I played a ton of open world games and they weren't out in 2024. It occurs to me just now suddenly that I could nominate Fallout London technically, because that did release this year and I hadn't thought of it. But I am putting my vote behind Star Wars Outlaws because it looks good. It's a very cool game. It got a little bit of short shrift when it came out, partly because of the timing, partly because some of the stealth missions and such weren't what people expected, but it's actually quite good. So yeah, I'm going with Star Wars Outlaws. Really cool to see Star Wars brought into this area. The cutscenes are, of course, as we're seeing on screen right now, very, very well done. Like, it's cinematic, it's got a great story. This could really honestly be in for narrative too. But then when you actually get out there and want to play, it's open world. Yeah, it's open region in that Inquisition kind of way, but they're large enough that I consider them open world. So I'm definitely a big fan of what I played so far and look forward to playing more.
Yeah, this one's getting added to the stack too. It looks so good.
I will ditto that as well. That was my nomination as well, Star Wars Outlaws. I had originally had Avatar on here, but that was a 2023 game. It just came out the end. But Outlaws,
Pandora,
yeah, that was pretty cool.
I mean, did it make it into any of the nomination categories for the actual Game Awards? Because
no, but this isn't. We're here to celebrate 2024, and they didn't make the fucking cutoff. So you know what? They can go tie up their ponytails, some horses, and get out of here. I'm talking about Star Wars Outlaws. I will resonate with everything that Jess said, and additionally say that the game is very interesting in terms of like criminality and like how you're wanted, like what they do to like make sure that you're wanted, like a GTA system, and also your reputation with factions is very region dependent. And so like sometimes it's a good place to be because you're friends with maybe the local crime lord. You can go in certain outposts, but sometimes you're in the middle of Imperial territory. You ended up punching a few stormtroopers too many times. You got a death squad trying to follow you, and you're in some crime lord that you ended up goofing over in the last like smuggling mission that you have, and you're just in total deep crap. And that's like kind of baked. It's not like set up. Like it's more of like your player driven choice, and they build that into the world. And I really like that about the game.
Yeah, dynamic like that. That's what emergent gameplay is, a big part of a good open world, a world that's reactive to you. And Star Wars Outlaws definitely has that with, NPCs with routines and just you can interact in various ways.
Correct.
Great. This definitely sounds like something that I should add to the stack. Congratulations to Star Wars Outlaws for becoming the best open world game for the 2024 Stackies.
Yay!
Yay, indeed. I don't remember where we started.
Best RPG is our next category.
Best RPG. Jess, I feel like you're the resident expert. Let us have it.
Ooh, okay. So what a year for RPGs that I didn't play for the most part. There are some really awesome ones on the stack. And the one that I want to nominate here is going to be in another category later because it just looks so good. But RPGs that I did play, this is so hard. I did write one down, but now I'm second guessing myself. No, we're going to do it. We're going to save it. I'm going with Octopath Traveler 2.
Ooh.
Maybe a little out of left field here.
That surprises me. Tell me why Octopath Traveler is your choice.
So Octopath Traveler, the original, brought in this new HD 2D art style that they've been putting into multiple, a number of games lately that Nintendo has. I think they've even trademarked the HD 2D name or HD 2D name. And there have been a few since then. The Dragon Quest remakes, Dragon Quest 3 came out in this style too. And Dragon Quest 3 is a really good Dragon Quest, the third of the Erdrick or Lodo, if you're doing the Japanese version trilogy. And I love it. But I'm giving it Octopath Traveler because the first one had potential. This one really achieved it. You've got great characters, really excellent classic RPG style. It has random encounters. It has some of the things that, are a little bit old school, but it's brought into this new art style. The voice acting is actually really, really good. The story is complex. Each character has their own story, and then in this one they meet and they overlap. And the idea of origins is the kind of thing you don't see in many games.
Mhm.
Dragon Quest IV had it. Dragon Age Origins had it. There are some other games where you play a character, but in this, the 8 characters, which is why it's called Octopath, by the way, Octopath Traveler. You've got 8 main
Mhm.
characters that each have their story that then overlap and intertwine. And it's a really wonderful RPG. It may not be my favorite RPG of the year, but I wanted to give it this award from me as my nomination.
I really
Brilliant.
I like the tilt shift.
Isn't it beautiful?
It's really nice. Yeah.
The shadows
Really
and
well
it's easy
done.
to navigate too. Like it's not just pretty, but it totally makes sense when you're in it. Like you never get lost. You're never like, oh, I can't really understand what's happening on the screen. It works well. And look at that classic battle menu, but it's got evolution because there the boost system involved with it. It's a fun battle system, fun equip. Oh my gosh! In your inventory, you actually have an optimize button, so you can like instead of having to compare, is this pair of trousers better than this pair of trousers? Is this shirt marginally more thick? No, you press optimize and it picks your best gear too for the character. I love it.
Nice. That's really fun.
Recognizing the time, Shalene. We have 30 minutes.
Mhm.
Great choice, Jess. Great choice.
Oh, I didn't know you guys had a heart out.
No,
you have a
you're
heart out,
the
my
one with the
dear.
heart out.
I've got 60 minutes.
Oh, we have 60
That's
minutes.
what I was thinking.
Okay.
Yeah. Dave, what's your nomination for best RPG?
Arisen, there's art over there. It's Dragon's Dogma 2. Dragon's Dogma 2 is like it is like if you boil down Lord of the Rings to like, hey, we're a bunch of people that are just gonna go out and we're gonna go do the quest. Is it get the ring? Is it go and fight the monster that's after the town? Like, honestly, one of the best emergent gameplay RPGs that I've had. The like multi-classing, like making your character and then making a character that's kind of like your assistant that goes around and helps you with everything, and then says like the most annoying. It's like they'll point out, be like, Arisen, on my journeys last time, there was a ladder over there. You should climb it and find it. They said that to you like 50 different times. Like they're like lovingly annoying in that game. But the like emergent gameplay of I was tasked, like the mission was go take this cart and escort it to the next town. And while I was there, all of a sudden we come to a bridge. A giant troll comes up and we have to fight this troll. So we all have to get out of the cart and we're all like hanging onto the troll trying to fight it. We knock it over the bridge. We manage to get the cart across the bridge. So we're fighting the troll, and then all of a sudden we're fighting this troll. A giant fucking griffin comes out of the sky and swoops down and breaks the entire like cart that we were carrying. All the people fall off over the ridge. They're all falling on top of the troll. We're trying to kill the troll. We can't kill the troll. We're all dying. Then the griffin comes down. He's like, you know what? I want to fuck up a troll today. So he comes down and he starts attacking the troll too. And like it's like this whole like, and then we're the griffin ends up carrying off the troll into the water. He gets absorbed by some squid in the water, and we're just like, we were just sent here to escort a cart. Honestly, like the classes, the systems that you have in that game make it feel like that you are on a journey all of the time. It is like what I would recommend for people. Like there's not a lot of great Lord of the Rings games out there, but it's like this is we are on a quest to do a thing, and it's so open in terms of like what could happen during that time. Anytime it feels like an adventure. Night is very dangerous. Daytime is like a good spot to travel. Like there's no fast travel system within the game. It's very emergent, like how we had talked about before. So that's my nomination.
Great choice.
Brilliant.
Great choice.
My nomination goes to Dragon Age Veilguard because that's the only RPG I played at all this year. And yeah, that's Vendor. How
Why
about
though?
yours?
Why, Shalene? Why?
Because it's literally the only RPG that I played this year.
Oh,
Literally. That's
okay.
it. Mhm.
What was my nomination? I have to go back to my list. Oh, Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh,
came
you
out
chose
last
Baldur's Gate
year.
3?
Yeah, yeah. Although
That
I
came out last
haven't
year?
I haven't
It came out last year. That was It was
Yeah,
last year's game of the year.
Right, it was 2023's game of the year, but I feel you, Vendor. I know you're going to get into it, but I got to tell you, the reason I didn't play Dragon's Dogma is because I was getting, my 100 hours of Baldur's Gate 3 in this past spring. So a lot of us did play it
Baldur's
this
Gate's
year.
coming back in here. I better call the avatars fucking back and get them on their banshees flying in here, being like, I see you, I see you.
I choose Baldur's Gate 3 because I don't think that there were any really top-notch RPGs that came out this year.
Fair.
That
That
stood
is
out
fair.
for me. So, but Final Fantasy VII Rebirth I think leans more on action and cinematic storytelling. Baldur's Gate 3 emphasizes for me the strategic combat and that extensive narrative choices and the traditional nature of what we see in an RPG experience. So, I think it fits the definition better, and I want to revive it into the 2024 Stackies.
Okay, as is your right. Does anybody feel like throwing their vote a different direction?
I would like to throw my vote in the direction of Dragon's Dogma 2. That was a very compelling argument for why it's got that role play to it. Again, open world, emergent, all that good stuff. But there are stories you can tell in it. You have a character, there is a true narrative in there, but there are also the stories you can create yourself, that kind of role playing. The only reason I didn't play that one is because, like I said, I was playing Baldur's Gate 3 and then Diablo 4, like during that 6-month period until June. Like that was my spring, was in those two RPGs. Pretty hard. So yeah, I would like to.
I'm also willing to back Dragon's Dogma 2 just because of Dave's Griffin story, because that was an incredible story.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was it? It was a griffin and a honeycomb or
troll.
something? Oh, a troll.
Yeah.
And the trolls are weird because the trolls really like ladies, and so if you have ladies in your party, they will just pick them up and just like slobber all over them.
They always
Gross.
troll us.
Distracting for them. Yeah, and so
Just like in real
it's like,
life.
it's like helpful. It's helpful to have a lady in your party because then the trolls will be like,
Mommy, I don't want to be bait.
right?
Yuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, congratulations to Dragon's Dogma 2 for being named the best RPG of 2024 by the only award show that matters. Which brings us to best puzzles. Dave, what is your nomination for best puzzles?
I wrote in Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. The whole system of like mimicking and duplicating items, like I'm still working through that game, but it's like I really have to think all the time. It is different from any other Zelda game that I've ever played. I love the return to the top-down aesthetic, like the chibi style of it, but like you were not thinking of how to like fight the enemy and solve the dungeon. Like you were thinking of like every single room, every single place is a puzzle and you have to solve it. And it is very good about not making the exact same thing work everywhere. Like you really have to think about it. So that's my nomination.
Absolutely brilliant. That was almost my nomination too, but I felt weird because I haven't actually played the game. So instead, my nomination for best puzzles is Detective Pikachu Returns. And I don't know that I can argue that those are the best puzzles, but they are the cutest puzzles, like of all time ever. That is just such an adorable game and series, and it's just so fun going to talk to the different Pokemon, and you get in shenanigans, and it's a good time. So
that's how I got my wife. I said, I'm not the best man, but I am the cutest man. So
Detective Pikachu Returns. Vendor, what's yours?
Sorry, I'm still on Echoes of Wisdom and not paying attention to Detective Pikachu because Echoes of Wisdom is also my choice for best puzzle nomination.
It's a good choice.
Yeah, sorry, I just kept the B-roll rolling there. Yeah, I think it takes core elements of a great puzzle design. We know from previous Zelda games how good puzzle creation in that franchise is. And so even though I haven't played Echoes of Wisdom, because it is the only Zelda game that came out in 2024, it earned my nomination for being the best puzzle.
Fantastic. And Jess, what is your nominee?
So I love the look of the games you guys are showing, but I haven't played them. So my nomination for Best Puzzle in 2024 that I played is Little Kitty Big City. It's an adorable game where you are playing a small cat who has uh, fallen, got distracted and fallen and has to get back to his home. And he's discovering the city. He's making animal friends. He's finding toys. And along that way, and as you search, there are a lot of puzzles to find it. So the puzzles are not necessarily difficult. A lot of them are collectathons, but still, when you know where you need to get to and figuring out how to get there, it's more navigation puzzles than it is like, thought pictogram type puzzles. And so, yeah, I really found it a fun distraction. There you go. There's the kitty on screen right now. And yes, you can get into plants. You can cause so much trouble. Like, this is as great as Stray was in its way. This is in some ways a more realistic cat simulator. You have
Really?
a lot of fun.
The hats in this game are so good.
What I
The
really want
hats
to
are
know is,
wonderful.
can you just like push things off tables?
Oh, there's an achievement for doing so even.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Because
You can crawl through
yeah.
things. You can smash pots and all that. It's really fun. You eat fish. It's goofy. And I am totally excited that Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is going to win. But yeah, Little Kitty Big City, it deserves some credit this year. It was a great game.
It's a good
It's
choice.
getting added to the stack.
Oftentimes when I'm like water coolering and a bunch of my coworkers are like, oh well, sports this, sports that. Not a big sports guy, but they're like, oh, they know I play video games. And they're like, oh, what kind of video game you play? I mean, I'll give them some answer, but next time I want to be like, oh yeah, I've been playing Little Kitty Big City.
Yeah.
It's a real
I've got
serious
39 of 42 hats.
Right, I have all of the hats. I collected them all last night and got my achievement in Little Kitty Big City. So how about them Cowboys?
Oh, Dave.
That's amazing, Dave.
Oh, you're so incredible. Wow.
We've missed you. It's been way too long since we've had you on the show.
Yeah. Dave level humor.
Congratulations to Echoes of Wisdom, the first Zelda game, 2-star Zelda, for winning Best Puzzles. And it also makes sense that the holder of the Triforce of Wisdom would be the one to have the best puzzles. So good job, Zelda. We're proud of you. Best DLC or expansion. I am going to kick this one off, and I am not necessarily sure that my nominee qualifies as a DLC or expansion, but I'm going with Fallout London, which is a mod, but I feel like it qualifies.
It's
Fallout London.
It's big enough to be a DLC, Shalene. Let's.
It's another one that I haven't played yet, but I have watched some gameplay. I have heard many of the stories. It's brilliantly done. It's probably one of the best Fallout mods of all time. And
yeah,
that's my nominee. Vendor, what's yours?
Same. And I it's partially because it's so awesome, but also partially because it should be a DLC.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. People do think it's a DLC, mistakenly. So, yeah, that's it deserves nomination.
Nice. Jess, what's your nominee?
Let's just keep it playing a little bit of Fallout London because that's not what I had written down because I didn't think it would qualify. But if it does, immediately Fallout London. Absolutely such a fantastic DLC-sized mod. There's so much to it. And you have to install Fallout 4 to play it. So I think that's a good way to look at it. But it's its own thing, I love Fallout London.
But that's
but I'm
part of why I considered it an expansion, because you do have to have the game, the base game to make it work. So
yeah, I feel like we're going a little bit rogue here, but I am happy to go rogue because what do you do as a protagonist in a Fallout game except go rogue?
We do what we want
These
on
are the
Gamestack
Stackies.
podcast.
Like, yeah.
Yes.
Anything goes. If you wanna nominate the original Super Mario Brothers for best art, you live your best life.
Shalene has standards. I'm glad to hear.
Jess, what was your backup nominee? I'd like to know.
Honestly, okay. So I wrote down two. I had to write down Shadow of the Erd Tree from Elden Ring
Good
and
choice.
Destiny 2 Final Shape because they're both wonderful. And I was
Mhm.
debating which one I was going to choose because they're both fantastic expansions, but I haven't played either. I only
Right.
know my Destiny heads loved Final Shape, and it's kind of, the game seems to be slowing down now, so it
Yeah.
might be the last big one. And then Shadow of the Erd Tree was essentially another game, just in the same way Fallout
Yeah.
London is. So, yeah, I was going to pick on the fly between the two best DLCs expansions here, but now the three best.
Yeah.
So, which one of those
Nice.
did you choose, Dave? Because would we have had a tie?
Dave,
It's
we can't
the
hear you.
Oh no, we can hear you.
I'm just screaming through the microphone.
Yeah, it's peaking.
Good. Shadow of the Archery. Particularly the character that says Bale, curse you, Bale. I will hunt you to the end of the days, Bale. He's just like laying in a field of flowers, just like sitting there, like cursing the skies about a dragon. And you find him multiple different times, and it's always hilarious because it's just like you hear this screaming coming from the Bale, Bale. That was honest. Like Shadow of the Erdtree is a great DLC, but it's honestly the hardest From Software game I've ever played.
Really?
I don't think I've had a harder time playing any of the games, so much that I got to the final boss and like my build just did not work, and I like
Wow.
had to figure out how to I had to do this build where it's like I had these various perfume bottles now. Like I was not a purveyor of perfume, but now I am. And
Yeah.
because I had these perfume bottles, I was able to explode the perfume bottles in various ways at a specific angle to make it hurt him a lot. So I was like this like magic sword, like, oh, I'm a fantasy guy. It's like, no, you know what? If I really want to like screw this guy over, I gotta be a perfume salesman. That's what I gotta be. That's my calling to be able to get it done.
I'm
Beautiful
surprised Perfume
game.
Salesman couldn't beat the final boss.
Well, eventually it did. But great game.
I
Great
think I would have
DLC.
spent more time with Elden Ring if I had known that perfume salesman was one of the archetypes that you can choose.
Oh, and it's like, I mean, it's like Forrest Gump on there. Like you got your electric perfumes, you got your ice perfumes, we got your rotten perfumes, we got your fire perfumes, we got all the preferred gumbo, we got your coconut perfume, all over.
Amazing. I do need to spend more time with Elden Ring. That's a great game. Congratulations to Fallout London for being the best DLC or expansion, even though we know you're a mod.
We know. We
Everyone
know.
else gave it to Erdtree, so you know.
But we know.
That
You know what
brings
you
us
did.
to our next category, the best independent game. We like to celebrate indies in particular here on Gamestack Podcast.
Mhm.
Vendor, what's your choice?
Oh, it's hands down Harold Halibut.
I knew it.
Hands
I knew it.
down. This is the best, possibly one of the best indie games I've ever played. Yeah, it's close. It's close. Harold Halibut I chose this year because it is one of the only indie games that I played this year. But it does stand out, particularly as I mentioned earlier about its innovative art direction, but also really emotional storytelling. So the main character, oh, his name is escaping me now. Harold. Duh.
His name is escaping me.
It swam away.
Yeah. Harold is this. He's just like the most dull individual you could ever meet. But he's such a complex character. Like he has so many layers of emotion and struggle behind him that you don't actually know until you start to play through some of the stories. But the game really pushes boundaries of what an indie can achieve, I think, both artistically and emotionally. For fans of narrative-driven based games, I think this really holds something truly unique. And if you haven't played it yet, you should.
Absolutely. Jess, what's your nominee?
My nominee for Best Independent Game of 2024 is Balatro. Balatro swept the world by storm and gave us many nights where we could hardly sleep. It is a game that I had to uninstall in order to stop playing. I had 3 weeks where I
Ooh.
lived, but yes, it is amazing. I had to uninstall to stop playing and get back to regular life because, games aren't going to play themselves and I couldn't just play cards. The music is fantastic. The gameplay is fantastic. It looks simple, but it will pull you in. And the real gameplay is not necessarily the suits and hands you build. It's the jokers and how you put them together. There's so much strategy in the order of how your jokers process, the blinds you do, when you keep, when you skip, how you arrange your deck. It is wonderful. It's on all systems. And I actually reinstalled it again because of all the Game of the Year discussions. Last month, people mentioning Balatro, and I'm like, yeah, it really is the best. Yeah, I love Balatro. So I reinstalled it, pulled me right back in like I never left. It's just a wonderful indie game. And I'm a Canadian developer, local thunk, a single person studio. I think he had 1 or 2 contract helpers by the end, but he put this together, and no one had any idea it was going to be this big, and yet took the world by storm, and me as well. So, Balatro.
Jess, do you think? Sorry, go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
Shalene.
go ahead. Well, I was just gonna say that I've really I struggle to understand the appeal of Balatro because every time I watch gameplay of this game, it just makes me think about how much I hated Caravan in Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah, it's easier to
Yeah, but-
understand than Caravan. But pretty
should
much
put that at
anything
the
is. My
box,
tax
like-
return is easier to understand than Caravan. So,
the difference, Shalene, was that Caravan was rigged from the start. So,
oh my God, it was.
yeah.
Nice.
Jess, do you think is it Balatro? Balatro?
Balatro.
Do you think Balatro could be turned into like a tabletop?
I
Like
mean,
a physical
You just
card,
play it with normal cards, can't
physical
you?
card game? Can you? Is it possible?
you couldn't play it with well, the jokers are all separate and special. There's a huge number of jokers and the tarot modifiers. There's a lot of special cards you have to add. And if you're
I'm
going
a
to play a
special little
tabletop,
joker.
if you're going to play it tabletop with somebody else, you'd have to come up with an idea of like a cooperative joker that people would then play, use the jokers for each other, and then have someone actually win based on that. So it would take a lot of translation, but it could happen, I think. Yeah.
Interesting. Dave, what's your nominee?
My nominee is the video game known as Pizza Tower. Pizza Tower actually came out in 2023, but it was released for the Switch in 2024. Pizza Tower is about a man named Peppino Spaghetti. Peppino Spaghetti is a pizza maker himself. The artwork itself is kind of like Ren and Stimpy. Like it has like a very like 90s cartoon, like very exaggerated, and it plays like Wario games.
I
used to.
love
Uh-huh.
this. This is
I can
great.
feel the weight of Mr. Spaghetti in the same way that you feel the weight of Wario.
Yeah,
Absolutely, I see it.
Wario and Peppino Spaghetti are like possibly separated at birth. One of my favorite platformers in the past year. The concept of going through the level and trying to do it as quick as you can, and then once you get to the end of the level, you have a timer that starts, and you say you got to leave the spaghetti world and go back to the pizza tower so that you can, I don't know, make some more pizzas or whatever. I don't know. Story's not important. The important thing is like the amount of speed that you have in this game is faster probably than any Sonic game that you would play. Like it is very methodical, very good. And it's
reminds
my
me a little bit
nomination.
of Earthworm Jim.
Yes,
in
very
that
much
Yes.
so.
regard.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. Excellent choice. Okay, and we're choosing indie games, right?
Yeah, but I haven't made a nominee yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, Shalene. Go ahead.
So my nominee is Animal Well.
Oh,
Yes, the donkey game. It's an amazing Metroidvania. This game is very special, and there's so many hidden secrets in this game, and I can't believe that the donkey game actually turned out good. Can't believe
Right?
it. But that is my nominee.
this one could have been nominated for best puzzle game too. If I had played it,
Agreed, yeah.
I didn't play Animal well, so I don't know it well enough. But it looks really cool.
This was my, I think, backup nomination. But Peppino Spaghetti and just like the mythos of Peppino Spaghetti just overtook it. So I'd be happy to throw my hat under this one as well.
The mythos of Peppino Spaghetti.
You know, when I see spaghetti and pizza
There's
and a
one
man
thing-
that loves that, it resonates with me. It's
I
home.
mean, yeah, you've found your people. So,
Right.
Indeed.
We can always depend on
But
Dave
thank you
to turn a
for
phrase.
passing your vote to Animal Well. Congratulations. I know Donkey will be thrilled.
Animal Well.
Which brings us to one of our more problematic categories year after year, best multiplayer. We tend to be just a bunch of hermits who want to sit in our house by ourselves and not necessarily play games with our friends. But we do have best multiplayer as a category all the same. That felt like a very targeted look, Vendor. I feel attacked. I think that means that you can give us the first nomination. What's your
Sure.
favorite multiplayer?
My favorite multiplayer is Mario Party Jamboree.
Ooh.
I got to play this with my partner. I don't know if any of you have played Mario Party Jamboree yet. But it's pretty good. Like it takes a different stance on the Super Mario Brothers universe. And it plays more like a board game. I think there's a lot of deep gameplay within it, but there's a variety of mini games as well. So one of the core strengths of the game is the extensive library of mini games. It's like endless platformers and puzzle solving and reaction time challenges that can be designed for short or long fun sessions. It's also pretty competitive, but it creates that competitiveness on this backdrop of really sort of lighthearted, friendly atmosphere that we know and love in the Super Mario Brother universe. It's nice because there's the multiplayer mode, but there's also, you might find yourself in like a co-op mode, teaming up to complete different games, or a free-for-all as well. And then there's local and online. And yeah, I think in terms of how it stands out is just its inclusivity and its flexibility in how players can come to the game. So that's my choice.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vendor. Jess, what is your nominee for best multiplayer?
Okay, as you said, this is a difficult category sometimes. I do play a lot of multiplayer games, but they tend to be older, and tend to be the old favorites, hanging with friends, getting comfortable. So like Sea of Thieves for y'all so often, Fallout 76, State of Decay 2 played a lot this year. Diablo 4 is a multiplayer game, played a lot of that. But my 2024 nominee for best multiplayer, I felt like I had to limit it because there are just so many and I could be all over the place. So we're going to give it to Helldivers 2.
Ooh.
Helldivers 2 is a wicked cool game that should come to Xbox, please, sometime, because I really want to play it. And it's got some great themes. It's built off of the whole kind of Starship Troopers concept. The way that you're in there fighting the giant bugs and robots and, for democracy. It's a lot of fun. Everyone I know who's played it regularly has been having a blast. One of those games you hear stories about, too, that people are just like, oh, we did this, we did that. It was a great time. This many medals, fought this many teams. Yeah, Super Earth Ministry of Truth. It's got that whole propaganda kind of shtick to it that is just really, it really just works in this game. So, yeah, really fun multiplayer game, Helldivers 2, that I haven't played, but I've watched people play on stream and talk to friends about it and want to play.
That is a very fair choice. Thank you, Jess. Dave, what is your nomination?
I have a left fielder here for 2024 multiplayer games. I'm going to say Pokemon, the trading card game.
Oh, there you
Pocket.
go. There you go.
I don't know if you understand that my wife has gotten 3 Celebies in a like holographic Celebies that she has opened beside me in bed, and I have gotten 0. And I am trying to build this deck, and the Mew
She
deck
has
may
foiled
be
your
going away
plans.
soon. My
Nice.
plans
my ideas, and like, of course, I'm getting all this cutesy shit. I've got all these cute Eevees just like hanging out in my deck. I've got like Gyarados hanging out. I've got like holographic Dragonites. Like, I got them out to wazoo. But I'm trying to build a Celebi deck, and that's all I want to do. The actual like gameplay of the like battle card game is better than actually playing Pokemon the trading card game in real life. It is so simplified and like brought down that you don't have to build your deck. Your energy is automatically there. Like the actual like battle system is really nice. It's 100% simplified down to like its core of what it's doing, and you only have to like knock out 3 enemies to get through. Like, I'm a big fan of the original GBA like Pokemon trading card game that came out, but having it built into a pretty much free application that you can go out and like do these battles against anyone and build a small deck of 20 cards. Anybody can build a deck of 20 cards. I mean, we could sit around and play Commander for hours and hours and have these giant decks of whatever, but this game, the amount that they've like kind of like funneled that experience into it has gotten me got me excited about opening a holographic pack right now. I've got one on the docket, I believe. Oh, look right there. I'm gonna be opening myself up a pack here in a minute once it loads up. Oh man, got all those
Nice.
cards. Gonna open that up later for myself. That's my nomination.
Wow, I feel a little bit violated.
My nomination is going to be, again, 7 Days to Die.
Ooh.
This 10-year-old game. And I have not played it extensively, but Archon sure has. And it's brought him a ton of joy. And I feel like I've experienced it. I've forgotten the word.
It makes him happy, which makes you happy, so you like the game.
Vicariously. I've
Because-
experienced
Okay.
7 Days to Die vicariously through him. Yeah, I've gotten to witness many shenanigans, and he plays multiplayer every week. They have a standing date on Thursday with Tim Twig and company, and it's a great time. So 7 Days to Die, which this 10-year-old game that released this year, is my nominee. But I am fully willing to throw my nomination behind Pokemon, just because I'm currently obsessed with Pokemon Go, and I love Pokemon. They're adorable little creatures. I love them.
Who's that Pokemon?
I am with you. Pokemon is one of my favorite games. Trading card games was my first big trading card game I got into. I do love it. It's a game for the ages. And hey, if we're gonna go beyond this year, why not?
Amazing. So congratulations to Pokemon the card game. Best old game is our next category. So best game not released in 2024 that you played this year. And I'm going to go ahead and kick this category off. I will shock absolutely none of you by nominating Pokemon Go. I have played so many hours of Pokemon Go this year. It's just, the obsession is real. And while I realize that I fully acknowledge this game has some predatory microtransaction practices, I am susceptible to them, and I'm playing all the Pokemon. I've got to catch them all. The Pokemon are here. I got to catch all of them.
I miss that. Like, I miss like you go out in the city and people are like, oh man, you know what? There's a Snorlax over there. Oh, down that street, guess what? Charizard. That's where it's at.
I think you would be surprised at how many people are either still playing Pokemon Go or who have started playing it again. Because there is a huge Pokemon Go community. Even just here in Albuquerque, we're able to find large groups to do some of these activities with. So
I am a Pokemon Day, like the Pokemon Day that they have, or that weekend where they're like, oh, it's Pokemon Fest. Like, I will buy the like whatever $3 pass to get into the special event, and like for that 2 weeks, like pretty much centered around that, I'm playing. I'm getting my steps in. I'm connecting it to my fitness thing. So it'd be like, you know what? I'm hatching those eggs. I'm getting steps. I'm hatching those eggs. Let me walk on them. Let me open them up. Maybe there's something good in there. Who knows?
what I'm going to need, Dave, is for you to add me on Pokemon Go.
I don't know if I have it installed
So
right now, but I will do
it's
my
in the
best.
Discord. I've got all of our friend codes penned in the Discord. Anybody
Except her
who's actively
gifts.
playing. So yes, yes, indeed. So Dave, if it's not Pokemon Go, what is your best old game that you played?
So I'm a big so like this year has been about like I am now old. I have a 2-year-old daughter. I have a mortgage. I have like life, and so like my interests are so like I'm so dialed in to like what I like. I am now one of those guys that's like, you know what? I'm not listening to the new punk bands. I'm just listening to Green Day. Like, you know what I want to go listen to? I want to go listen to a lot of Blues Traveler by myself. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
let's find
Book
find
brings
what
you
you
back.
like. Right. And you know what? It was a real damn shame. And I'm not very happy with Microsoft. In fact, I'm rather TO'd at Microsoft because they closed Arcane Austin this
Mm-hmm.
year, and I hadn't gotten around to playing the game known as Redfall, but I have this year. And while it's not the best game, there is a lot of like really good heart in that game.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Like just the art style and design of this like I don't know, kind of like Stephen Kingy town. Like there's like almost like this like cryptid thing going on with it. There's all
Yeah,
these
the art
vampires.
design. I might
Yeah,
even nominate it last year. I love it. I have over 100 hours in Redfall. Sulior and a few of our friends all play. Yeah.
yeah. I didn't play it when it came out. I'm a huge fan of immersive sims. Like we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about Deus Ex, like Dishonored. Like
Yep.
Dishonored is probably one of my favorite game series of all time. And just that another developer can't make those games anymore. Like, you know what? Phil Spencer, why don't you go up, huh? Yeah, why don't you go up? Closing down that studio that made this awesome game. Like, what are we doing here? So that was my best game I played from last year. Last year.
Very nice. Vendor, what is your nominee for best old game?
Tough one. I would say probably Deep Rock Galactic. Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
loving it.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, Deep Rock Galactic is one of the games that I still play with friends.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a nice time. Like it's you just hang out and shoot some baddies and have a great time, and there's minimal time commitment to it. You can hop into a session for 30 minutes and then call it a night. Like it's, you know, we all have
Mm-hmm.
very busy lives and it's really difficult to get in front of a screen together. But DRG has been one of those games that has kept some of my friends still around, which has been really nice, especially, you know, when our lives all get so crazy. So
Mm-hmm.
that's for me the best old game.
I
Great
can't play that
choice.
game without thinking about hi ho, it's off to work we go though. And I'm like, and we dig, 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 dig. That's what I'm like singing the whole time I play that game.
Mm-hmm. I've been working on the railroad. I often sing that when I am digging for graphite in that
Funny.
game.
As the railroad workers would have wanted you to.
Yeah.
Jess, what is your nominee?
So I don't know if there can be a winner in this category because it's all, walk down memory card lane for all of us. But I would be remiss because I did my game dirty last year when I went for Game of the Year, Baldur's Gate 3. Let's go for the actual game of the generation, the game of the 2020s. Starfield is my best old game of the year. I still love it. I love Starfield. It is a fantastic game, and it keeps getting more added to it. The mods are coming in; they're wonderful. I'm having a great time. Some of us have done podcasts about it. Yeah, gosh, Starfield, the gift that keeps on giving. The reason I call it Game of the Generation and have for a while is because all these other games may come and go. We may replay them, but Starfield is ever changing. It's a big galaxy out there and just getting better. That's all.
I've been playing Starfield recently too. Like I have this character called Grandpa Gus Galacto, and like he's just an old man. But I'm trying to get him up to level for DLC, and it's just like I'm doing that like corporate faction quest, and
Oh,
but
Ryujin?
Yeah, I'm behaving like a complete and total idiot. Like I'm like the worst corporate employee to be like, oh yeah, I just shot him. I didn't listen to him. I didn't. Oh, you wanted me to not kill the employees when I was like trying to steal the evidence? Oopsies. Oh,
Yeah,
th-
that's
and you know what? Whatever I say, it's like you're in like a DM is trying to like railroad you in a game of Dungeons and Dragons where you like massacred everyone. And they're like, oh, you know what? We can take some losses. Let's just move on to the next thing. It's like, oh, and I killed the other guy. Okay, I guess that's fine. You just won't get you don't get an extra 1,000 credits. So
Sorry, Grandpa Gus Galactus, but the thing is, you can. There are multiple paths you can take in a lot of these, and
right.
that quest line definitely.
So I guess I'm going for the
amazing.
idiot playthrough.
Well, Dave, does that mean you're willing to throw your vote behind Starfield?
I don't know if there should be a winner. I kind of agree with Jess. It's like,
Is this one of those times where the winner is all of us?
Yes,
Yeah.
for all the game stack of games we haven't played and the bigger stack of games we have and loved before.
Well, congratulations to us, the gamer, for being the
Us, the
winners.
Oh wait,
Yay!
there we go.
Here we go.
Thank you, Vendor. Our next category is biggest surprise. Jess, do you want to kick us off for this one?
My biggest surprise was Pal World. What the hell? Pokemon with guns? Is this actually fun? Oh my god, it's fun. Is this actually cool? Yeah. Am I still playing? I am. My biggest surprise of 2024 was Pal World. It was a really good time. And while I'm not currently still playing, it's a game that, you can come back to. And they really took a concept and ran with it. So Pal World's my biggest surprise.
Nice. That's a great choice. Dave, what's yours?
My biggest surprise is Indiana Jones. The gameplay I like just didn't expect. Like when I think about how an Indiana Jones game would be, it would be like Uncharted, and they've made like what 5 of those, and like that is
Right.
like, oh, I'm a mass murderer
Mhm.
that's going to murder 1,000 mercenaries to get to this like treasure for my family member that's long deceased or whatever, and I am just like shooting and killing constantly. And so when I
Mhm.
thought about an Indiana Jones game, that's what I thought. But I'm pleasantly surprised that it is not that, and that really it is. I mean, it's from the studio that did make Wolfenstein, but it's really just about like solving mysteries, doing some fun platforming, and punching Nazis, and like that's just way better than just
Wholesome fun. Good wholesome
right.
fun.
Right, you're not murdering 1,000 people to get the treasure. You're just Indiana Jonesing yourself, which is excellent.
Great. Vendor, what's your nominee?
My nomination for biggest surprise, Harold Halibut for sure. So yeah, I never thought that I'd be sitting in a game watching a Brazilian romance. What are those shows? Soap operas?
Telenovela.
Yeah, telenovela. I never thought I'd be sitting in Harold Halibut watching a telenovela for like 25 real minutes.
Is that a thing that happened?
And they didn't speak English, but I was so into the story and watching the TV because, like, that's the animation. Your character walks into the lunchroom, and it's like, do you want to sit down and watch TV? And you hit A or whatever, and then Harold sits down, and then the next splash screen is like the TV, and you can just watch the TV. Anyways, I got engrossed in it one day, and I was sending Shalene screenshots. And
It
I
was
was like,
funny.
oh my
I
God,
really
they're going to
enjoyed
break
it.
up. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, they made up. They're in love now. Oh, everything's okay. It's like, yeah, biggest surprise for me. Not the
Fantastic.
telenovela, but the game itself. Yeah.
My biggest surprise for the year was really how few video games I played this year. Like it was a weird year for me, and on a lot of different levels. And I didn't do much gaming, so my biggest surprise was how few games I played. Putting together my list this year made me feel a little sad. So I don't know if this is necessarily a category where we have a winner either. So do you want to just jump to our next one?
Yes.
Okay. So the next category is WTF, the game that made you question your existence. And I am going to kick this one off. It's not necessarily a game again, but Building my new PC. Make me question Mike's. This was such a journey, you guys. Oh my goodness, it was such a journey from picking the parts to installing the stuff and to unboxing my enormous new PC case. This PC case is like larger than some, it's probably bigger than your car, vendor. You drive a Mini Cooper, this PC case may be larger than your car. It's in installing components to trying to get everything wired up, and like the frustration and sadness, the drama of it not working right away. And then when we got it to work, you know, we were like, yes. And it was just such a journey. So building my PC. Vendor, what was your WTF?
Alan Wake,
Oh.
the first one. I don't do horror games, guys. That is where I will leave that.
Fair. Jess, what's yours?
Horror games. I mean, I agree with you. And mine is kind of like that too. Mine is WTF mouthwashing. What a whack ass spaceship bizarre game. So this is a game with some really surrealistic imagery. It's like if Tacoma was really gritty and dark like Cyberpunk. It's got some difficult themes. It's got some really bizarre imagery. I don't even know if you want to show it on screen
I'm just
here.
asking you
Fender.
now. Well, I don't have the B-roll up, but we'll take a look.
A lot
we'll
of
take
it's
a look
fine
off thing.
If yeah, a lot of it's fine if you look at the trailer. The trailer's mostly palatable, but it's just got some really, really weird imagery, but still a compelling story, and people really enjoyed it. It's a horror game too, which I don't generally play, so that's why I've resisted getting too far into it myself, but I had to check it out, and yeah, just look at this. I love bizarre surrealism, but this pushed it on levels of body horror at times that was a little much for me. But but not too much. Not so much that you're like, oh, I never want to go there again. Just yeah, WTF, mouthwashing.
Indeed. Dave, what's your vote?
My vote for like WTF also was in like the nightmare fuel variety. It's called Dread Delusion. Dread Delusion is like it's like a small version of Morrowind. Like OG, but it's in like nightmare fuel mode. Like there is so many like strange
This is weird.
things in this game. Like it's a great game. It's honestly like on my short list of like top 10 ones I've played this year. Like you are both dead and alive. You came out of a coffin, and now this coffin servant is sending you off on this mission to go kill this pirate. But like there's like this there's just a lot of like super like Morrowind in general is weird. Like there's like floating like octopus snails, and this one it's like, okay, we see you and we raise you to this brand new level of weirdness. Honestly, one of my favorite indies, it would have had, you know, it obviously would have had a pick on mine if not for a certain Spaghetti Man, but super weird, kind of a what the fuck game. But I loved it so much.
Brilliant choice. Do we have a winner for this category? Does anybody want to throw their vote?
Oh gosh, Shalene, what was your pick?
Building my PC.
Building
yeah.
Shalene's PC.
Let's
let's
all throw our lot in behind that because
Yeah.
it has been a trial.
What
Yeah,
a journey
yeah.
it's been.
Yes.
But it shouldn't burst into literal flames anymore when I'm trying to play a video game. So there's that.
Just don't drop it down a flight of stairs.
I'm going to try so hard not to drop it down a flight of stairs. Oh my gosh. Honorable mentions. Does anybody have any honorable mentions? Jess?
I'd love to do a quick list of honorable mentions, you know, because there are so many games that didn't necessarily fit a category or I had as backups or just didn't get to. So honorable mention for Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, a really fun hybrid action tower defense game. Essentially tower defense because you're positioning villagers. Really cool art style. Honorable mention to Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons remake. Do you remember that game that came out way back from Joseph Fares? It was their first big game. Maybe like 2015 or so. Well, they actually remade it this year. Came out in October. Looks really good. Still as affecting as ever. So, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. honorable mention to the entire Kingdom Rush series that I replayed this year. The tower defense game is now on console, and yeah, really, if you like tower defense, and I do, and there's not enough of it out there on consoles for that. It's kind of like relegated to an older genre that they don't make much anymore, But hey, as a top 10 ranked Defense Grid 2 player for 10 years now, I will say that it's just an amazing tower defense. I also want to yeah, Warhammer 40K deserves an honorable mention. That is just a really cool game. Neva is a great indie game, very beautiful. I only didn't nominate it because I'm still playing Greece before I actually finish Neva. So I didn't do that. I did Greece instead. And all the games this year that I haven't played, which I could probably save, but there are so many great games this year. It's been a year where we just couldn't get to them all. So we'll talk about that in when we get to games you didn't play but need to category. But like Prince of Persia, Infinity Nikki, like just all these cool games. 1,000 Times Resist I want to play. Have you guys heard of that?
No.
No, but my
Oh.
wife is playing Infinity Nikki, and I
Mhm.
absolutely love like watching her play that game because it's like you have to do these like fashion offs, and this character is dressed up like so fucking weird.
It's
Like,
a dress-up game, but it's mature and fun. Yeah.
it is hilarious, and it's like, oh, these people are bad guys because they're wearing sunglasses. It's like, oh shit, the sunglass guys are here. They're gonna come mess with all of your cute floof that you've collected over the past like whatever.
Yeah,
Great.
so
Excellent.
definitely an honorable mention, and it might not fit in any of these categories, although it's kind of open world. It's an open world dress-up game. But yeah, that does it for my honorable mentions. Just there are so many this year. 2024 was a good year in games.
Brilliant. Vendor, what are your honorable mentions?
My honorable mention is Pacific Drive. This
I really want to
also-
play more of that.
Yeah, it's also a contender for games that I haven't played but want to. So Pacific Drive is one of them, and then also Void Crew is one that I've been wanting to play. It's a multiplayer game. It has really positive reviews, and yeah, those are my two.
Great. Dave, do you have any honorable mentions today?
Yeah, I'll do two. First one being the Silent Hill 2 remake. Really good remake for like one of the weirdest games that's like it's not very pleasant. It's not a very pleasant game. Like when you're playing it, the story it's like, oh my god, these characters are about as interesting as like a grain of rice, but it's like Lynchian in that way of like, oh well, yes, they're intentionally like that. That's the intention is that they are so disconnected from reality that they like that is their personality. Uh, I have not finished that game, and it's like I can only take that game in so many doses of the wackiness of Silent Hill. Honestly, a great survival horror game, really simple to understand. Like it's at that right level of action and puzzle that I like from like a Resident Evil series or stuff like that. But my other honorable mention is the Alan Wake 2 DLC called the Lake House, which was excellent. I love everything that Remedy is doing.
That was my number 2 for the DLC nominees.
They might be my favorite like ongoing studio. Like I love this like they are doing the connected universe right and like telling different stories across this like almost like paranormal world situation. I'm like curious about every single project that they've got going on. The Lake House was excellent. It's super creepy, super scary. I think scarier than maybe the main game in a lot of spaces, just because of there's monsters in the paintings, and they also like are very hard to kill without knowing like the secret behind it all. But really, really good DLC. Really like that. Honorable mention.
Cool.
Nice. My honorable mention for this year is books, because I don't think I would have made it through the year without books. I do enjoy.
What's your
reading
favorite
very
book this year?
Nope, we're not doing that. We're not
No.
doing
You got to
that.
do it right now.
Don't
You're on the
open
spot
that.
right now.
Don't
Right
open
now.
that.
Can't
right
do
now,
it.
Right now.
It's-
Right
nope,
now.
we're not doing
No,
it, Dave.
on the spot.
We're not
on
doing
the
it.
spot. On the spot.
She's like, I don't have an hour to go through all these too because there's a
There are
lot
too
to
many
discuss. I'm
books.
sure.
Yeah, there are too many
All
books.
right, let's do
I
this
read so
again,
many
but then we
books.
just do Shalene books, and then we'll just all rank Shalene's books for Shalene.
That would be great. We can do that. Yeah. Extended episode.
Yes.
We've got next our most anticipated games category, and I will kick this one off because I do have a nominee for this one. Metroid Prime 4. Give me some more Metroid, please. Someday. I want Metroid. Who's next?
I'll go real quick on this one since I did a few too many honorable mentions. Sorry about that. Just got excited. It
No
was a good year.
worries.
My most anticipated game is going to be Fable. I
Ooh, good
do believe it's
choice.
coming out in 2025, and I'm just really excited to see where they go with it.
Very good choice.
Playground Studios does a wonderful job, and there's so many games I'm anticipating this year, including today, Citizen Sleeper 2 came out, sequel to my 2022 game of the year, which I'll be diving into this weekend.
Excellent.
Yeah, Fable.
Dave, what about you?
The Obsidian games, of course, Avowed, and then the Outer Worlds 2, which is also coming out this year. I really like the pace, the tone, the direction of all of the Obsidian games, pretty much that they've ever made. Maybe not Alpha Protocol, but like all the way back to Neverwinter 2, like every single
Yeah.
one of their games has like a unique sense of purpose, direction, and it is like you are the person in this world. And so I'm very excited for those games. These are probably my two most anticipated games. I would love to like Avowed. It's like a smaller Skyrim that's more focused on like what's going on in this world. Yes, sign me up. Outer Worlds 2. Outer Worlds 1 is
Yeah.
great. It's
Yeah.
honestly one of my favorite RPGs that I've played like over
Mhm.
time. It's
Yep.
So
definitely
good.
grown on me.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So for me, Outer Worlds 2 as well, brilliant. And the second one is South of Midnight. Those are
Oh,
my
yeah.
two anticipated.
And
games.
talk about stop motion too, like your Harold Halibut, right? It's got a kind of similar vibe. Not all claymation animated, but
Well,
Yeah,
and I
Vendor
do,
won't play
I
it
do
unless
love-
it's stop motion. He won't play anything but stop motion stuff these days. He's just a very particular man.
One could say I'm getting older. I do love a good female protagonist. So
yeah.
yeah, South of
Indeed.
Midnight is rich with good stories. So
So we gave our honorable mentions earlier. Does anybody have any dishonorable mentions?
can I go first?
You can go first.
Skull and Bones.
Oh, the
That came out
pain.
this year. Oh.
Stalking absolutely no one. That's also my dishonorable mention.
You know, to insult to injury, the salt in the seawater. I picked that for my fantasy game critic last year. I'm like, oh, you know what? It's going to surprise people. It's going to be better than you think. I've got some friends in the beta saying it's decent. No. Negative points
Didn't.
on Justice Fantasy Critic.
Didn't.
Skull and Bones, dishonorable.
Lame. Does that make it your choice as well?
Yeah, it will be because the only of the dishonorable mention I had was a mod for Balatro. Okay, I'll just tell you right now. So Balatro, fantastic game, a lot of fun. Like I said, the Joker's part of the personality. You know, you got Jimbo there. He's all funny. He's like, because they don't talk. That's what they sound like. But someone came up with a mod called Jimbo's Big Naturals. So that suddenly the Jokers all have huge tracts of land. Like, it's not actually explicit, but they did. They made it. They made it. And I'm like, no, not every game.
That's like as bad as when they did it to the mud crabs in Skyrim.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Dapper
yeah.
mud crab, monocle and hat, cool. Mud crab with bazongas, not necessary. So modders, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Dave, do you have a dishonorable mention?
No, stop playing bad games. Why are you guys playing bad games? Like, don't waste your money. Don't play a bad game. Play a good game. What are we doing here? Stop doing it. Stop it
It's-
right now. This is the
stop it.
intervention.
Get
You're
some
all
help.
here. I'm the therapist. This is
Well,
get
I'd like
some
to
help.
point out that I didn't actually play Skull and Bones, but it is dishonorable.
It's
right?
just its existence.
Like
is
the fact
dishonorable.
that they still put it out. Shame on you.
Amazing.
They could have just
So,
made Black Flag again. It would have been so much better.
Congratulations to Ubisoft for winning the dishonorable
No.
mention category.
Oh,
Okay.
We have a longest, most ridiculous title category, and I am like just now remembering that last year how we awarded this was I went through all of our new releases lists, and I didn't do that this year. Does anybody have any good ridiculous titles?
I have the title for 2024. So it's
Lay it on us.
Cthulhu Saves the World, Super Hyper Enhanced Championship Edition, Alpha Diamond DX Plus Alpha FES HD, Premium Enhanced Game of the Year Collector's Edition without avatars. That is the title of the game.
Is that real?
Yes, that is real.
Cheers.
They did that satirically, right? Like
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah. But
They-
that
whew.
is yeah. They probably made
Holy
it into the
smokes.
Guinness Book of Records or something too, or something. But
Which brings us to our next category, game I didn't play, but I need to.
I'll go first. I'm going first. UFO 50. I really want to play UFO 50. I want to wait until it's on a console so I can like play it like a Nintendo. Like
I have not heard of this.
Oh,
UFO
tell them,
oh
Dave.
my
Tell
gosh.
them.
UFO 50 is so it's from the makers. It's Mossmouth who made Spelunky 1 and 2.
Yeah.
They got together and they basically made a like fake video game console library, and so it is 50 video games that are all in this like NES style, that like you go through and you play, and there's like achievements in every single one of the games. So it could be like a strategy game like Fire Emblem, or like this like Ninja Gaiden-y kind of game, and it's all like super cute, but it's all like
This
through
looks
this
so good.
it's all through this mythos of like this is like the like it's like the undiscovered console, like you found an ancient console that it's like, oh, it had all
Yeah,
these
it was
games.
never released. He
in the
found it in like his
archives.
closet or garage. It's basically like Atari 50 that we talked about a couple years ago, that but like not real. Like I found this, and so the guy dumped them onto ROMs for everybody to play. And
Right,
that's
so-
UFO 50.
There's this
This
one
looks
game that's
amazing.
literally
I'm adding that
it's
to the stack.
it's a game that you get collectibles from the other games that you've been playing, and you decorate your house in the collectibles, and it's just a game about that. It's like Animal Crossing, but you get all the items from the other games that you play. So it's all like super interconnected with like the types of games and like who's making them. I really want to play it, but I gotta wait until it's out on console. I don't know if I can do mouse and keyboard for this.
That is absolutely amazing, Dave. Jess, what's yours?
Metaphor Refantasio. So Vendor mentioned that he didn't think it was a great year for RPGs. And I actually thought it was a pretty darn good year for RPGs, but primarily JRPGs. And Metaphor Refantasio kind of stands out as maybe one of the greatest of them. It's got all the style of Persona, but going back with a slightly more fantasy medieval aspect, the way they changed up the music. And this was also, by the way, this was also my possible nominee for soundtrack and other things. It's got a lot going on with it. So yeah, I really want to dive into Metaphor Refantasio. It looks like one of the best JRPGs I haven't played in years, and I want to fix that.
Excellent. My choice is The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. I bought this game on release day and it's still in its shrink wrap, so I really need to bust this out and play it. I love Zelda games. I expect to love this one. Let's do it.
maybe
Vendor, what's yours?
it's a toss up between Stray and Pacific Drive. But if we're going with timeliness, Pacific Drive, because it came out in 2024. So very
It's like
early.
such
in
that game has
2024.
such a mood. Like I just want to like sit alone for like 2 hours and just like on a rainy night, just like sit and play this game where I'm like, oh, fixing my car, and it's like, oh no, there's this and not like
Yeah.
the whole tone and atmosphere of that game. I
So
love.
funny enough, I'm reading Earth Abides,
Mm-hmm.
and I am convinced that Pacific Drive is based on Earth Abides.
I can see it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see it.
Yeah, at least
That's
the
funny.
first half of the book. But
Mhm. Well, that brings us to our final category. We're going to choose the 2024 Gamestack Game of the Year. Dave, do you want to give us the first nomination?
Yeah, I would like to nominate. I would like to nominate Indiana Jones and the Golden Circle. It is my personal game of the year. There are four. I would say there's like three core games that I love. The first being real-time strategy games like Age of Empires. Second coming along are like RPGs in all of their glory, and then it's the immersive sims in the world. And Indiana Jones surprised me so much because it is very much an immersive sim. The world that you're exploring feels like how you how like a great like dungeon master would lay out a dungeon. Like there's this level above with all of the different people you're walking around. You're trying to disguise yourself in the areas. There's like this underground area where it's like all of the temples and tombs are down there. They're interconnected. Everything like is just so like packed into it. The art style of the whole game. You get this camera that you're going around and you're taking pictures of things. So you're also like trying to Pokemon snap everything while you're going to just to like do clues to even like, oh, you walk into the Sistine Chapel, take a picture of that. Like landmarks, you get experience. That's how you get the experience in the game, is by doing quests and taking pictures. You don't get experience for punching Nazis because that's the fun of it anyways. That I haven't even finished it. The acting is great, soundtrack's great. It is my game of the year. It is I couldn't ask for a better pulp like tomb exploring game. Frankly, I haven't played one as good since like original Tomb Raider.
Wow.
That is some really, really high praise, Dave. Wow. Thank you for that nomination. Jess, what's your game of the year?
Okay. My game of the year is Dragon Age The Veilguard. You may be surprised because I didn't nominate in other categories, but it's partly because I was keeping it in reserve and wanted to give other games their due.
I understand that.
It may not be the top in some of these categories, but it is a wonderful game. And it's an action RPG. I wanted to give a little more traditional RPG in my RPG category. Dragon Age The Veilguard, a lot of the reviews said it best. It is a return to form, okay? It is truly a Dragon Age game. Yes, it's a more action-oriented Dragon Age game like Dragon Age 2, but the deeper you get into it, the more it reveals itself to you, the more the world comes alive. You connect with the characters that you love. Dave talked about Emmerich for a bit. Okay, Emmerich is a fantastic character. Him and Manfred, of course. But all of the companions are compelling, and their companion quests. Some of them are great. Some of them are decent, but they're all interesting, and you really get to know and love these characters. I put about 130 some hours into Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I 100%ed it. I got every achievement, every collectible, every discovered, because it kept rewarding it and giving me more. So much texture. I almost feel they put too much in this game. It's not as big as Inquisition on paper, but the truth is, when you get into it and you start exploring every corner and you're trying to 100% those regions, it ends up being almost as long as Inquisition. The things you do with characters, the different quests, yes, Dragon Age: The Veilguard is just my game of the year. Of new games came out in 2024, it was the best and most compelling experience I had, and just so good to get a Dragon Age back. In fact, I will just say one more thing. Despite the fact that there are some changes from how they did previous Dragon Ages, and this didn't all go over well, the art, the more you sit with it, the more you learn to love it. And the last 10 hours of this game is as good as any in the series, if not better. When I finished it, I literally just, put down my controller and said, this was a Dragon Age game. It completely deserved the title. And if the series is ending here, if it's going out with this, I think people are ultimately going to realize this was a worthy ending.
Wonderful.
It feels like it. I'm so close to being done with it. Like I think I've got another maybe 10 hours, and then I'll be through with it. It's not my favorite in the series for sure, but it definitely does feel like that ending itself. It's interesting when you're talking about the previous games though, because it feels like the Dragon Age Origins and Inquisition are very similar, and then Dragon Age 2 and Veilguard are very similar as well, because 1 and 3 are like, we are forming this group. We've got to pull all of these people together to fight this great enemy that's out there. And 2 is like, we need to get some friends together and get a little tiny group, and we're going to go like, it's very important, but it feels like more like focused in. And Dragon Age 2 had to sit a while with me before I started to really like that whole story. And I think the Veilguard's going to be the same way.
Might be.
Vendor, what's your nominee?
Harold Halibut.
He won't play it unless it's claymation. You heard it here first.
No, I'm going for an indie game this year.
Yeah,
But I think
it's a great choice.
I'm a little
You've
bit
really
biased.
loved Halibut.
I'm a little bit biased because I played it when I was coming out the ass end of my PhD.
Mhm.
Well, I still am. But so it really resonated with me in that way.
Video games are a lot like books in that way, right? Like
Yep,
you
yep.
remember the games that you played when X
At
happened.
important
Yeah.
times of life.
And
Right.
that's
Yeah.
why when you go and rewatch the series, the movie, reread the book, replay the game, it never lands the same the second time.
Yes.
Yeah.
True story. Well, thank you guys so much for coming together to do this.
Jolene.
Our game of the year is Dragon Age Veilguard.
Yes, yes, Muffin, yes.
I don't
I'm
think
glad.
anybody is too shocked that that's my nominee for game of the year. So, congratulations to BioWare.
Oh, I
Yes.
think we need the big applause for that. Yes, the big applause.
All right, so who's
Your teeny
who's the
tiny
hottest,
trophy is in the mail.
Who's the hottest member of the Veilguard?
I forgot her name, the Canary lady.
Tosh,
Tosh, thank you.
Tosh, they are just they are awesome. Like
Tosh
like
2.0.
I really like
Sorry.
the characterization
Sorry.
for sure. Yeah, but what about Nev? I mean, how do you feel about Nev or Harding? Do you vibe with?
I love Nev. I am a
Mhm.
big fan of Nev.
I could see you two getting along.
I think she may be one of my favorites, and she may be the romance choice that I end up going with. Because I of course I haven't finished the game. But it's big fan. So
I'm a big fan of Emmerich, of course, and Lucanus. I really I don't know why I really like him, but he's like a perfect like tragic character. I really like him.
yeah. So I've this has been a really enjoyable show. I love these award shows every year because they bring out some of the most sort of passionate discussion about video games. You know, we love video games all the time. That's why we're here. We just love games. But I feel like when we're campaigning for our game to win the prize, that's when you really talk about the true meaning that these games had for you, the true significance that these stories, these characters, these experiences had for us.
Yeah,
and
it's true.
Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us this year. Not just Dave and Jess, but everybody in chat and everybody at home. Thank you for making the 8th annual Stack Awards a very special time. So, yeah. Does anybody have anything else they want to chat about before we call it a show?
I just am really looking forward to 2025 for games as well. We've been, despite the troubles in the industry, games have just been coming out and they've been getting better and better. And what a time to be alive as far as that goes.
New Nintendo's coming soon. I'm gonna get my new 3D Mario. Right, please, God, thank you.
Oblivion remake, maybe. I mean, just can you imagine?
Can you imagine? Yeah.
I feel bad for the Skyblivion people.
That's going to be wonderful too. They're doing, they're doing their own thing. I think it's going to be delayed till 2026, and they're going to come out, and the PC people will love it.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Sure. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. As always, the show is sponsored by Oak and Crow Coffee. You can visit oakandcrow.com to get a bag of We Just Love Coffee blend, and $2 from every purchase will go to the Children's Miracle Network. You can email us at info@wejustlovegames.com. I don't know that any of us are very active anymore on the platform once known as Twitter. I still have my account. I don't really log in much. Does anybody have any social media they wanna advertise?
I'm just at Sleep is for Tea on, on the Twitter still somewhat, but mostly on Blue Sky.
I like how
I'm
we
really
have,
enjoying that.
We have Dave Chaffins as at Dave Chaffins on the show, but it's like, what is that? That's probably a Twitter handle for some random person that is not the real Dave Chaffins.
I think that is my Twitter. I don't know what my handles are anymore. I'm no handlebars.
What's
right
your
here.
handle?
That's how I ride my bike.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm on. Just find me at Rad Rolls. That's a podcast I do. That's where you get me just having fun, having a nice time.
Yep.
Rad Rolls.
Excellent.
Jess, you have any other projects you want to talk about?
No, that's all good. At Sleep is for Tea. follow me
All
things
right.
and find out about the things.
Wonderful. Please join the We Just Love Games Discord. You can join that Discord by clicking the link here on our Twitch page. The link is live whether or not we are, so definitely join up. It is a wonderful, wonderful community that I am grateful for every day. We record the show live at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time every Friday here at twitch.tv/We Just Love Games. Check out the recorded version of the show on YouTube, iTunes, wherever fine podcasts are given away. Thank you so much for listening. And even though I'm doing the outro, I'm still going to take the last words. The winner is PUBG.